here's a bona fide order for 138 miles of wire. We have the metal, but no wire mill. That's why we come to you. All we want to do is to supply the aluminum and hire you to make the wire.
Not interested.
But you made the sample for us.
Just the same, I'm not making the wire.
Why should we make wire for you to sell in competition to us?
You sold it. Now you make it.
Well, I guess there's only one answer to that. We'll have to make it.
And so it happened. When no one else would make their wire, there was nothing left but to buy their own wire mill and make it themselves. Later, they stranded aluminum wire around a steel wire core to increase the strength of the conductor. And there's something that often happens. Aluminum teams up with another metal to use the best qualities of each and expand the use of both. Today, more than 1 million miles of aluminum cable span America. Its lightness permits longer stretches between towers and saves hundreds of thousands of dollars in costly erection.
But, Professor.
Yes?
That's all very well for aluminum, but what about copper? Aluminum seems to have squeezed copper right out of the wire business.
Not a bit of it. Cheap aluminum power lines made possible the electrification of rural America. Think of all the additional homes and farms that had to be wired. More copper house wiring than ever, and more electrical fixtures and equipment. Everybody gets a break. It's true that the history of aluminum is the story of substitution, but that substitution always means more use for the other metals as well.
I see. Finishing more rainbows.
Right. Then one day, an aluminum representative called on a manufacturer of office furniture.
You're barking up the wrong tree this time, Stevens.
But think how much lighter aluminum would be. You can weld it. No joints to work loose.
Maybe so, but we're not going to do the experimenting. I happen to know no other furniture company will either.
Well, there's one company that'll do it, if it has to.
Who's that?
The aluminum company.
But you've never made any furniture. It's more than bending a little hollow tubing. Why, you have to be a specialist in upholstery, in leather and hair and paint. Be careful you don't bite off more than you can chew.
That's why I wish you were doing it. You already know how. But if you won't, I guess we'll just have to go ahead and bite.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Well, what do you think of the aluminum furniture business by this time?
Oh, we're doing all right.
I'll say you are. I hear you're selling $1 million worth a year or more.
More.
Ouch. Now listen, Stevens. I sent for you to find out if you'd still sell us aluminum and let us in on it too.
Sure, why not? Our main object in life is to make and sell aluminum, not furniture.
And that's how aluminum furniture got started.
Looks like the aluminum people won out every time.
Oh, no, not by a jugful. More than once, they work on a plan for years, only to have it take a nosedive. They just learn to take the bitter with the sweet and keep on plugging. For instance, look what happened in transportation.
Nice-looking cars. Too bad they're not aluminum.
Yeah, too bad for you.
Too bad for us both.
You know how much it would cost us to build a train of aluminum?
Yes. Do you know how much you'd save by it? You'd reduce the dead weight by at least 25% right off the bat. That means less power for operation. One engine instead of two on some runs. Always more payload for the same power. Faster starts, quicker stops, greater safety. Less maintenance of cars and less wear and tear on rails and roadbed.
You don't say.
You'd save the extra cost in power and maintenance of way alone in a few years.
Yeah, but where would we get an 80-foot channel for the center sail? There's no aluminum channel that size made. You know that.
No mill to make them.
Can you supply them?
I'll see you later. All right, but what about the 80-foot channels?
They'll take a whole new mill.
That'd run into millions.
And you haven't any assurance we'd get a single order, even if we did build a mill.
We have the assurance that we'll never get an order if we don't.
After the licking we took in automobile bodies, now you want to build railroad cars?
What do you think, Jack?
It's true we lost out on automobile bodies, just at a time when they were a mainstay of our business. Drawn steel bodies came along and were much cheaper. But don't forget, that's true in pleasure cars. where low first cost is a big thing. In the commercial field, like buses and trucks, where they are operated to make money, where payload and service count, we're in stronger than ever.
Yeah.
The railroad field is our next logical move. We've studied it from every angle, and we're sure. Of course it'll cost plenty. That's true of every forward step in this business. I say let's go to the management and fight for it.
And so, without an order for a single foot, without even a market, they went ahead and built the mill anyway to roll those large aluminum beams. Only a company with the vision would dare to do a thing like that. Only a company of willing and able resources could do it. Before the mill was finished, even before they'd sold a single beam, they had the grit to start running this full-page ad in national magazines.
One of these days you will ride on an aluminum train.
Talk about the courage of your convictions.
You really mean that?
We do. Here are the specifications on our new aluminum channels. As strong as steel and half the weight.
There's one other ingredient here you haven't mentioned.
Well, what's that?
Nerve.
Yes, we carry that in stock, too.
Yes, they're an adventurous lot, these men of aluminum, ready to tackle anything. From a wire 1/25th the thickness of a human hair, so fine that you couldn't see it without that microscope, to a steam shovel dipper, big enough to scoop up 32 cubic yards at one bite. That's more than enough to fill 6 5-ton trucks and deposit it on top of a 6-story building half a block down the street. And the beauty of it is, every last worker of the hundreds of thousands now engaged in the far-flung aluminum industry is holding down a job that never even existed 50 years ago and wouldn't exist today were it not for aluminum. And think of all the things you wouldn't have were it not for aluminum. So, because one young man met the challenge in his day, your life and the lives of these men are all bound together with invisible but inextricable ties. Ties of aluminum.